Now, parents, the ideal situation when it comes to raising kids is to have a mother and a father, and the mother stays home and raises the kids, helps nurture the kids in a right way while the father's out working, or hell, father can be. Matter of fact, I know some nurses where they work in the same field, in the same specialty. One of the parents works Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The other one works Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So that way, on their days off, the kids at home with one of them. And then, Sundays they have that day to each other. And I mean, you might say, it's kind of, but I mean, you might think that, okay, well, the kids got them, but then they're not home all the time together. Well, hell, if you're both working at the same time, during the same day, now you have a child that's in daycare and neither one of y'all are seeing the child, and neither one of y'all are seeing each other. None of y'all are seeing each other. And then you add in another element that's interfering in the growth and development of the child. Like I say, ideal situation. I wasn't able to do that, or looking back on it, probably could have, but didn't, wasn't thinking like that growing. Back then it was, I was working, children's mothers working. When my oldest daughter was young, like a baby, she had a friend of her mother's knew a lady, like a grandmother or somebody, who would watch kids in her house, in the neighborhood for, I don't know how much. It was relatively affordable for us. So we would take her over there, and everything's fine when she was like a baby, no problems. I mean, you had that in the neighborhood. I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to my aunt's house. When I was a baby. I remember being a baby going to like a daycare, but it was more like at a Christian school, which is, where my parents would make sure that I was at. But there were times when I'd be at my aunt's house, or a family member's house, staying with them, grandparents' house, grandmother's house, and being with them, and not so much at a daycare. But nowadays, with everybody having to work, the single parent issue is like at an all-time high, at a rampant level. And so these parents got to get out here and work. They can't stay home. For a lot of us who are, a lot of parents who are trying to live the right way, it's hard to get these food stamp benefits and these WIC, SNAP, and, Medicaid for the kids and stuff like that. So you got to get out there and work. A lot of people want to work. They got to make their own money, pay bills, and do it on their own. I mean, that's the dream, right? So unfortunately, like I said, a lot of these parents are single, and you have to find someone to watch your kids. You have to know what your support group is. And if you don't have a support group that you can rely on at no fault of their own, because they ain't the one who chose to have the child. Remember that if they're not prepared to, help babysit the kid, then that's not their fault. But if your support group is not going to be able to support you like you need, 9 times out of 9, you need to find a daycare. And so, but no one tells you as a parent or even as a daycare worker, some of the cons that can come with that business. Case in point, there's a story out of Houston where a daycare owner took some kids to the store because she had some errands to run, and left the kids in the car. And now she's in big trouble. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. Let's hit it.
Well, a Houston daycare owner is accused of leaving 5 kids in a hot car while she went grocery shopping.
It's hard to even fathom. Well, Fox 26's Jillian Hartman is outside of the Kroger where this all happened. Jillian.
Oh, hell, I didn't even think about that. I saw this story, but I didn't really it didn't really hit me that she went in there grocery shopping. If you're going grocery shopping and you have a daycare, you are about to pull a basket or 2 full of groceries and fill it up because you got a daycare. If you got a daycare where kids come all day, you got to feed them kids. You see what I'm saying? So you got to have food. So she finna go shopping at a Kroger, and you left 5 kids in the car.
Yeah, we learned the daycare owner went into the Kroger here to shop. She brought her own 2 kids inside the store, but police say she left 5 of her clients' kids in her car in the heat, including a baby and 2 toddlers. A witness told me that the kids were in the car for at least 40 minutes before police were called, and now the daycare owner is facing felony charges.
Don't they see enough of these stories where they tell you every summer? I know if you watch the news, and this little woman probably don't watch Now Bitter News, but if you watch the news every summer, one of the big stories they have one of the stories that they'll cover is leaving kids or making sure you don't leave kids in the car, and always check to make sure there are no kids in the car. And they'll have a car sitting out in the middle of the heat, especially in Texas and probably Arizona, New Mexico too. And they'll put a thermometer in the car, and they'll close the door and let it sit there, even with the air conditioning on. They'll let it sit in there for a while, and then take it out, and this damn thing, in about a matter of minutes, this thermometer done went up from 90 degrees to 120 degrees. And you can imagine a little kid's body getting hot real quick because it's not out of surface area. So it's gonna get hot real quick, and it get hotter faster than adults' bodies is what they say. And people leave these kids in the car, and the kids end up being sick or dying. And I believe that a lot of times, I ain't gonna say a lot. Oh yeah, I believe that so many times these people leave these kids in the car on purpose. I saw a story, and I hope I can find a video, because now that I'm thinking about it, I saw a story where let's see, I'm gonna write this down real time, y'all. Kids in the car. I saw a story where these people, these parents left their kids. I'm gonna see if it's real now, but left the kids in the car while they went to church. Why would you leave your kids in the car while going to church? This is like, I told y'all before, all these stories I see brings me to the stories in the Bible of Sodom and Gomorrah, or Moses leading his people out of Egypt. It comes to a point to where it gets so bad somewhere, and you done seen your people fall enough and be punished enough that you're like, the hell with this, we need to move on and go somewhere else. It's happened since the beginning of time, and unfortunately, people, it still has to happen sometime. But anyway, let's get back to the story, man.
We are going to start docket with Dominique Wilson. Ms. Wilson, you've been charged with 5 counts of the state jail felony offense of endangering children.
Local daycare owner Dominique Wilson was arrested, and she faces 5 child endangerment charges. Houston police say they were called to the Kroger parking lot along Telephone Road in Belfort around noon on Friday. Authorities say Wilson went grocery shopping with her 2 kids, but left 5 of her client's children she was watching in her car when it was 91 degrees outside. Police told us the kids' ages: a 10-month-old, a 1- and 2-year-old, and an 8- and 6-year-old.
There's absolutely no excuse. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What is that, y'all? Anyway, 10-month-old. My gosh. You leaving babies in the car for you to go grocery shopping. What did you need to get out of Kroger so bad? But you took your own children. Now look here. I'm gonna say this. If she would have went to the store and just left her own children in the car, yes, that would have been diabolical. Yes, she would have had consequences, but it wouldn't be as bad. Yeah, she probably, police would have been called. She would have been given a ticket, probably had, got handcuffed, taken down, all that. CPS, kids going to the state, unless some family members can come get the kid, which is what's going to happen now. And until, the investigation is over, and that would have been it. But now you took your kids in the store, and you left somebody else's children, 5 other kids with different parents, in the car while you went grocery shopping. Shoot, I can remember being a kid. I think one of my babysitters, daycare lady, like I said, I remember being dropped off at a lady house who stayed across the street from my aunt when I was young. I'm talking about little. Like I say, you used to have people in the neighborhood who would watch your kids, for a few dollars. But that lady was rarely, let my dad tell, that lady was rarely, there was really like the teenagers that would be watching me. And then there was this other little girl, I remember was there. I think her name was Alicia. I don't know why I don't think her name was Alicia. You know what I'm saying? But I remember this one instance, I think they had makeup on her. And I remember us being in a room. I mean, we was little babies. I'm talking about not even old enough to go to school. If kindergarten, if that. And I remember that little girl having no clothes on. I don't know if it was in a room or if they had us in a closet, but I just remember looking at her and she looking at me or whatever. She had like all this makeup on and them girls like laughing, giggling. And when my dad came and picked me up, they were like, how do you do what they do all day? And they laugh and say, oh, him and so-and-so, they were getting booted. Like, what? I'm like, my dad said, getting what? Getting what? I said, getting booted. They just laughing and giggling like I said, little teenage girls. That's why I say, they try to act like these girls are so innocent. Man, these girls hiding the pants and sun gun. But anyway, my dad didn't understand. I don't think I went to that daycare, that lady house too much after that. But when he asked me what they were, I said, I didn't know. And I didn't know. I don't know what they talking about. But I do remember, like I said, they had us in that room or in that closet. I don't know what they expected us to do, but, looking back on it, but like I said, these females diabolical, man.
It was super hot in Houston. I wouldn't even leave my dog in the car. So I don't know what she was thinking.
Nyla Peters is Wilson's neighbor. Authorities say Wilson runs her daycare out of her apartment along Stone Street. It's called My Little Angels.
Bless their souls. I'm so sorry that even happened to them babies. I really hate to hear that. From what I've seen, she's really good with the kids. They always are outside playing, having fun, She's usually standing around with them.
A witness said they found the children in distress,
So now you're about to lose your daycare license. And you got these 5 felonies. God, dog. And the way these parents are nowadays, somebody might come back and try to come see you, but all for what? Now, I'm going to give you a reason why I think she did it.
Face and crying. Wilson appeared in court on Saturday morning.
The court is recognizing the concerns about safety in regards to the children that were left in the vehicle that were found by passersby with the window barely cracked and the car not running. That is a very dangerous situation.
According to the Texas Health and Human Services website, Wilson is licensed by the state. Her last inspection was in April with no prior compliance issues. Fox 26 reached out to the state's Department of Family and Protective Services to see if they are opening their own investigation. A spokesperson says DFPS is investigating whether or not abuse or neglect occurred in this case. Findings from our
Determining, investigate, man, come on. I guess that's just a legal way of them saying that we'll get her soon.
Investigation will be turned over to the Health and Human Services Commission, the state agency that licenses and regulates daycare in Texas. Now, police tell me all 5 kids found in the car are doing okay. At this time, Wilson remains in jail. Her bond was set at a total of $50,000, and her next court appearance is on October 15th. Reporting live, I'm Jillian Hartman, Fox 26 News.
So unless she come up with 50,000 or is it 5,000, she's going to be in jail till October. August, September, October, almost 2 months. That's sad. All because of what? But let me tell you, like I say about the downfalls of owning a daycare business. I think, in just my opinion, this is what I think. I don't know nothing about the story. I haven't heard any other details except for this video here. I believe that there's quite possibly that she had to go to the store and the parents who were supposed to pick these kids up hadn't picked them up on time yet. And it probably happens more often than she would like. They've probably been warned about, picking your kids up at 5 or picking them up at 6. And that's the thing about it. See, we try to do business, like when you do business out of your house, mobile business, doing it with your own, neighborhood and with your own people, there is a downside to that because a lot of people believe that you should be skin folk and kin folk, if you understand what I mean. That you should understand that, I don't have it all this week. Can you let me slide until I get paid on Tuesday? Or, man, hey, I got to work, but I don't get off until 6. I know you said you close at 6, but man, now I can't get off work until 6, so I should be there by 6:15. And you be like, okay, well, I'm going to charge you a little extra. Man, just let me slide just a few minutes. And then you be like, okay. And then next thing you know, 6:10, 6:15 turns to 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock. You see what I'm saying? And so you got to deal with people like that who don't pay up, who pick their kids up late, or who try to drive, who want you to kind of open up a little early so they can pick them up. Although you've already laid down your laws, the rules and regulations, somebody's going to always try to bend it, because then if you don't let them do it, they're going to call you a sellout. They're going to say you, man, you charge too much in a way. You ain't a good daycare owner in a way, this, that, and the third. But she's licensed to have a daycare wherever she's at, which means she's following state protocol. So most daycares, if you go to a brick and mortar daycare business, a business that is like in a business area, the business district, and you go there and drop your kids off, they're going to tell you from the jump, this is when daycare dues are due. It's due on Friday at 5 o'clock. At the end, well, someone like to say by the end of the week. If you don't pay by the end of the week, get a call. You're gonna have a late charge, and we'll give you a few days. But then, if you don't pay in a few days, your child can't come back until the payment is paid. And they stick to it. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It ain't no, oh man, can you look out for me? No. If you come pick your child up late after 6 o'clock, we charging what they say, like $1 a minute or $5 a minute, something like that. Every minute, they're charging so much for every minute that you're late, and they stick to it. And if you don't pay it again, they're gonna send you a notice out and say, hey, you got to pay this late fee. I understand you paying regulars, but you picking your kids up late. You signed the contract, and it specifically says we're charging this if you pick a child up late, and if you don't pay it, your child can't come back. And you ain't finna go to that building and raise hell, try to force them to take your child, because they're not gonna do it. Kid can come looking hungry, her ain't done, crying, can't take him, and they won't take him, and they are legally obligated to do that. But when you do have a business in your house, your people don't want to follow the rules. So like I said, I think it's quite possibly, most likely, they ain't picked the kids up in time. And she was like, when we go to the grocery store, I mean, but no, she has enough, because if she runs a daycare, then she has to be like in the daycare building during business hours. She can't leave in the middle of the day to go grocery shopping. So it had to have been after hours. Now, if she left during the day, during business hours, that's a whole nother thing that they're gonna knock her for when they do that investigation to see if there's ever neglect and harm caused to these children. So most likely, like I say, she was ready to go. They ain't picked these kids up yet. Probably ain't answering the phone. Probably said, oh, I'll be there in a few minutes. And she's like, I'm tired of this. I got things to do. I'm going to the store. But this happened. If you're going to take, you got choices, y'all. And trying to outdo somebody or trying to prove something to somebody usually ain't the right choice. Basically, all you have to do is say, okay, then pick them up, charge them that fee, say you can't bring them back. And then once all the kids are picked up, go to Kroger. And then tomorrow, you know what I'm saying, open your business back up tomorrow and see maybe you can recruit more kids. Because I'm sure there are other mothers out there who need babysitters probably at a reasonable price. And she probably had a reasonable price. Like I said, but the problem is what they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And this may just be the situation. But I love to stay on top of this and see how this turns out. But, tell me what you think. Leave your comments below. Share it with the world. Let's have intelligent conversation. You know how we do around here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Those 4 things cost you maybe a couple of minutes out your day, but it means the world to us here at this channel. And with that being said, I'll leave you in peace. And I'll see you on the other side.